Hello and welcome along to another episode of the Across the Fourth Football Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Fraser. I'm once again joined by Logan back from his holidays is Steven Naismith. Gents, it's been a minute, but there's a lot of football to talk about. How are we doing today?
Yeah, doing good, thanks. We're obviously recording an hour later than we'd planned, but it's I'm looking forward to it. Logan, how are you?
Absolutely gutted to have Steven back, to be honest, Aidan. It was brilliant without him.
Yep.
I think you can agree with that.
Yeah, you were trying to get loads of replacements for me, but couldn't quite replace me.
Aye, well, we wanted David Tanner, but he was probably away doing something for TalkSport. Then we thought we'll get James McKenzie on, a Celtic state of mind. But it was his birthday, so he rather selfishly chose to not spend his birthday with us in the podcast studio. To be honest, I wouldn't either. So we had to give a special guest feature a miss. But we will eventually try and get some other people on. Just bear with us because nobody wants to sit in a tiny room with us and talk about football for around 45 minutes. And to be honest, I don't blame them in the slightest. But got a packed itinerary for you today. First of all, we're going to look back at the Hearts Celtic game. Unfortunately, that was not a pleasant viewing experience for myself. Let's talk about what's going wrong for Hearts, and unfortunately for me, I'm going to have to open some freshly healed wounds and talk about how good Matt O'Reilly was and the reaction from the Celtic fans at the end, of course, singing Brendan Rodgers' name, which is apparently a really big deal because I've not done it since he came back. Rangers versus Hibs, obviously Clement's first game. Montgomery needs a plan B and Sima permanent hints. We've actually got a schedule written up this week, so we actually know what to talk about before we open our mouths. It's fantastic. We're going to look at the Fife Derby, look ahead to Celtic's game against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, Rangers v Sparta Prague, and Aberdeen v PAOK. So we're covering all the Scottish teams in Europe once again, as usual. And at the end, we're going to have Logan's quiz time. So I'm thrilled to be participating in that. So, first of all, Hearts v Celtic. Celtic ran out easy 4-1 winners at Tynecastle. It was not a great viewing experience for myself, but the Celtic fans, the small allocation that were allowed into the ground, enjoyed it very, very much. A lot of talk pre-game about the Celtic fans defying their board's wishes and continuing to display the flag of Palestine in relation to the current situation happening over there. So it's a bit of an interesting one. The fans are clearly at loggerheads with the board over a number of things, but this one seems to be pretty prevalent given it's been in the news all the time. Not really going to dive into the whole political situation, but in short, what do you think about the Celtic fans continuing to show their support regardless?
I think football's a really good way to show support for people. I think it's one of the only things in the world that can unite a lot of people, and if they feel that way, which a lot of people do currently, then I don't see why they shouldn't be allowed to do that. I don't understand why the club are having to come out and condemn them. It's not really up to them, is it?
Yeah, obviously it's a very serious situation at the moment, and Celtic fans have kind of shown their stance on it in recent weeks, and as long as the conflict keeps going on, then I think that they'll keep on showing their support and keep on. Well, the club, I don't think will be happy with it, but yeah, it's a tricky one.
They've actually banned the Green Brigade from attending away games because of their actions at Motherwell invading the pitch. That's the official reason the board have given, but a lot of folk have been saying it's actually to do with the Palestine message instead of just the actions at a few away games recently. So it's a bit of a controversial topic, but onto the football itself. Celtic didn't even have to get out of first gear to comfortably turn Hearts over. Another very disjointed, rudderless performance from Steven Naismith's side. The experiment with appointing another rookie manager just hasn't worked out. I can't see it getting better. Hearts have got a very tough run of fixtures coming up. We've got Rangers in the league and in the cup. I don't think they're going to be pretty scorelines either way. And if I'm honest, it just feels already like the end of Nielsen's tenure. The players look out of ideas. We're saying one thing in the press, we want to play attacking football, and it's not transpiring. Naismith's clearly very frustrated with his players, but at the end of the day, when the team's playing badly, the buck does tend to stop at the manager.
It just didn't make any sense, the change, to be honest. bringing Naismith in the first place, and then obviously not naming him the manager, naming him, what was it he got named? The technical director?
Yeah,
or something
technical
like that.
director.
Yeah. So normally when you sack a manager, you'd like to get rid of all his coaches, whatever, fresh start. But instead, when it wasn't working under Frankie McAvoy as well, partly obviously Steven Naismith was the manager, Frankie McAvoy's still there. It's still it's still just the same team with a new name on front. It doesn't make any difference.
It was a cheap option to appoint Naismith.
100%.
He was already inside
Definitely.
the club at the under 18 level.
It was the B team he had,
B
but
team.
his only managerial experience is like a 17th place finish with the B team in the Lowland League.
To be fair, I cannot remember what pundit it was, but someone on Sports Sound, it must have been like just after the split, just before the split, compared Naismith should be getting the permanent job to Pep Guardiola at Barcelona,
Excuse me.
managing the academy, and then stepping up, saying that if that can happen for Pep Guardiola, why can Naismith not do it?
Because Steven Naismith's clearly not Pep Guardiola. I know they're both bald, but that's kind of where the similarities stop.
Yes. How long do Hearts stick with Naismith until the results? I can't see improving. Obviously, you want to you need to give him time, but how much time do you give him is the question.
How much time can we afford to give him? The answer to that's not a lot. The game against Celtic was our lowest attended home game in around 17 months, I believe the stat was. So it's kind of sending out a bit of a message of apathy, I would say. Also, there's other factors in play. The fact that we had to raise the loyalty points threshold to 15, so no Celtic fans could get in the home end. A few still managed somehow. So there was differing reasons, not just because, we don't want to watch Hearts play Celtic. There was a number of factors in play that made it more difficult for folk to get to that game, which I understand. But at the same time, lowest attendance in 17 months, it just sends out a message that folk aren't content with what's going on at Hearts at the moment. The board were actually last night on a Zoom call that a Hearts fan set up. A number of members of the Foundation of Hearts were actually on a call talking to fans about a variety of issues that people have with the club at the moment. But in regards to the managerial situation, I don't think Hearts can afford to give him much more time. I do think they will give him until the end of November, I'll say he's got a tricky run of fixtures just now, like I've said. He'll get those fixtures, but if results don't improve, which given the opposition I don't think they will, then he'll have to face the chop. But I just think that Naismith's appointment, at the time I was happy with it because he'd changed the playing style from when Nielsen was in charge. It was attacking football. It just about got us over the line in fourth, so we still got some sort of European football for a bit this season. No group stages, obviously, because we went out to PAOK, who we'll obviously mention later on the podcast. But it was a good option, I think, at the time. In retrospect, it was a good temporary fix. But Hearts, actually, I looked up in the last 10 years, all the Hearts managers there's been, and most of them have been appointed from within the club. You've had Levine, you've had Naismith, you've had Nielsen twice. I think the only two that weren't inside appointments, if you will, were Ian Cathro and Daniel Stendhal.
Can I ask you, see in theory, if the results didn't necessarily pick up, but somehow you beat Rangers at Hampden and you got to the cup final, does Naismith get the cup final even if you continue losing in the league?
Yes, I do think he'd get the cup final, given that. Although saying that,
Hibs didn't give
Jack Ross the final,
So
so
he had a lot more credit in the bank than
exactly.
Naismith did.
So now that you mention that, I don't know. I really couldn't tell you. Obviously, if he beats Rangers, fair play, but would I back him in a cup final?
The issue is,
I don't know.
It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you keep him and you lose, you're moaned at for keeping him and not giving yourself a good enough chance. If you get rid of him, then you're moaned at that you didn't give him the chance because he's the one that got the team there.
I think he should be judged alone for playing Shankland in a 10.
Oh, Shankland! I mean, he did break
Some
his goal
finish.
drought. It was a very good goal. I got a muted fist pump from me in the press box. So that was about all I could be bothered to muster in reaction to that goal because the game was long out of sight before then. But good finish. Glad to see him end his lengthy goal drought. It's not like him to not score for long periods of time, but it's just there's something not quite right. Like you'll know yourself, boys. Like you've both seen Hibs and Dunfermline go through spells like this. it just feels really flat around Tynecastle at this moment. Last season, obviously we had the buzz of playing in Europe, but even when we weren't doing quite as well, there was still a bit of a... You didn't walk out of Tynecastle just feeling like, oh, they have to be here. And certainly when we finished third, every game you went to, you were like... For a large part of that season, it was an exciting time to follow the club, and the atmosphere was one more of hope. And now it's just like flat. It's like I'm on holiday this weekend, so I can't make it to Rangers away. And like normally I don't mind Ibrox. It's a big away day, good day out, and I'm just like I just don't care. I'm feeling a lot of apathy towards Hearts at the moment.
Yeah, that's, to be honest, that's kind of, as a Hibs fan, I'm sure many would agree, over the last couple of years, it's kind of got to numerous points where it's like you got bored, because it's entertainment at the end of the day, isn't it? So you go to the game and fans want to be entertained, and even if sometimes you get results, you don't play well, it doesn't sit right necessarily. And that, if you look at Hibs, that's why so many managers have lost their job, because, for example, Neil Lennon, he was the last time we had exciting football, but Lee Johnson came in, told us we're going to get this nice press and direct football, and he never delivered
That's
it.
hungry men, we must look for a supper.
He just didn't deliver it though, and that's what lost him his job, because you can take, to a degree, losing games, but you can't take putting in bad performances and losing games. Like, if you look at us dropping points to Dundee last month, 0-0, dropping points to Killie, we didn't deserve to drop points in them games. We're much the better teams, but those things happened. We played well, we had a nice attacking football, so fans actually buy into it. But like at Hearts, if you're not really giving the fans anything to get behind, they're not gonna get behind the team.
Yeah, it's a bit similar to Dunfermline season. Obviously, we've put in good performances this year, and some games came up short. For example, the first Raith Rovers League game at East End Park, where we lost the early goal, but for the rest of the game we absolutely battered them, and you could see the players were putting in so much effort to try and get that equaliser, and unfortunately it didn't come. But when it comes to a fan base like Hearts, you expect results against teams, or I don't want to say lesser teams in the league, but teams that you expect to beat on a Saturday. So it's how long you give Naismith, and if those results come, then fair enough. But are you expecting him to try and get results against Celtic and Rangers? Because we all know how difficult it is.
It's just
The issue is now Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen to an extent all just see Celtic and Rangers as a free hit. If you get beat by them, everyone thought you were going to get beat by them. If you somehow get a result against them, then it's happy days, isn't it?
I mean, not so long ago, Hearts fans were outside Tynecastle saying they were going to
Win the league?
win the league, yeah. And I was probably, a year ago? And now
Exactly. And then what? Nielsen got sacked about 2 months later.
that video still gives me nightmares. I do not know how many pints those folk had sunk in the Tynecastle arms, but it was probably a very impressive amount. On to the topic of Matt O'Reilly, the Celtic midfielder, having a stellar campaign. It's one of the best opposition performances I've seen from a player in quite some time. He was fantastic. He's just a cut above the rest. He's just a genuinely very, very good footballer, and he's only 22. He's got so much potential, and I reckon he'll be the next one to leave Celtic. Every couple of years, I'd say they lose one of their real high-profile stars to a bigger club, or a bigger money move, as when Jota left in the summer. I do think that the resolve will be tested in January. They may keep a hold of him, but I certainly can't see him being at Celtic this time next year.
He's definitely went up another level since Rodgers has come in. I think the role that he's playing, he's kind of like, it's like his own little role, if you know what I mean. He's just able to kind of run about and roam, and under Postecoglou, I would argue it wasn't that free, if you know what I mean. I think he spoke himself about when Rodgers came in, and he said, "Well, now we have a manager that will come and talk to us in the canteen." So it's like even little things like that. He's obviously buying into what the manager's telling him. He's high on confidence, and as you say, he probably will be the next Celtic player to go for big money. I don't think he'll go in January, to be honest. I think he'll try and see this season out to have a proper stellar season, and then we all know English teams will come calling next summer.
do you think Andrew maybe try to get him at Spurs? Or?
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think
Just
so.
even that one comment that he made, that
I
you
suppose
wouldn't make
Ange
that
would
comment
forget
if you loved your manager.
Yeah.
it's an observation, I suppose, because Postecoglou has spoken about how he likes to keep a distance from his players. Like, that's just something he does, something he's always done.
Clearly successful.
Yeah,
I mean,
O'Reilly obviously just didn't
it clearly
like
works for him. I suppose. I mean, everyone's different. Players overreact to man management in different ways, but I don't think it would make any sense for Postecoglou, despite how
No.
good O'Reilly was under him in that sort of more limited role. What would be the point in him taking O'Reilly to Spurs? And like, what's the point for O'Reilly going there when he can't play with the same freedom?
And he's got James Maddison to play that basically exact role.
Can't wait for him to sign him for Bournemouth next summer.
To be fair, I'm surprised that one player he's not went for is Kyogo. I thought they would have went for Kyogo after Kane left.
Do you think his age is maybe a matter that he's?
I always forget Kyogo's like 28.
I know. I guess the fact that they've started moving Son in the middle, playing with Charleston on the left, has mean that they might not actually need that centre forward player that folk thought they needed.
I don't like Spurs being this good, by the way.
I don't mind it, to be fair. But after that game last month, that was not nice.
I'll be watching Spurs on Friday, so I'm heading to Selhurst Park for that one. In the home end, though, because obviously, been tickets are like gold dust anyway, but it's the people you know. So I'll be able to report back on Ange Ball Mark II in next week's podcast.
I guess it's just good to see somebody go from Scotland and do so well in England. And it's sort of because as soon as he went, there was already doubts about him. And he's had, the most points ever for a Premier League manager in the first 9 games?
Has he not got like back-to-back manager of the month?
Something like that.
Yeah.
He's got like 23 points in 9 games or something like that.
I mean, I'd say the last time you don't really see it anymore, like managers going straight from SPFL to down in the south and doing really well. I'd maybe say the last time we properly saw that, obviously Rodgers when he went to Leicester did a good job, but on the level of Postecoglou, would you maybe say like Sir Alex when he went from Aberdeen down south?
I'd say...
Although I know he didn't do really well at the start at Man U, so I've kind of contradicted myself, but do you get the point I'm trying to make?
I get it, but I'd say Rodgers was a bit different. I'd say Rodgers has already made a name for himself as a manager, obviously at Swansea and at Liverpool, nearly winning the Premier League at Liverpool. He obviously took those couple years at Celtic, kind of built himself back up again, managed to get that job at Leicester, but he did then basically get Leicester relegated. So
Are you telling me Gerrard didn't do a good job at Villa?
No.
Ask Aston Villa fans, and I'm sure they'll tell you.
What, compared to
No,
Unai
there's
Emery?
not much of a difference between Emery now.
Unai Emery has won the last 11 home games at Aston Villa.
He's been a fantastic addition to
Ridiculous.
Aston Villa, hasn't he?
Now Gerrard's
Ridiculous.
managing in front of 700 fans.
Oh,
in
honestly,
Saudi Arabia.
yeah,
But it's okay because he's got John Henderson playing for some stupid amount of blood money.
exactly. I thought he was going to go and give us like loads of money to take Henderson off our hands, but we only got about 10 million.
To be fair, for a player of his age, that's not a bad fee.
No, I guess. I mean, his wages would have been quite high because it was a new contract that he got a couple of years ago.
Quite. Even for a team in the Saudi league, he's going to grab him.
No,
They're
it'd be
still
on
gonna pay.
ridiculous wages.
Oh,
no.
it'd be stupid. On to... Do you want to like just stop talking about...
Yeah,
like,
and then
we
just
need to
cut it.
It's like 18 minutes already. We've even gone past the first point. Right.
We did talk about that first game for a bit.
A little bit. Rangers versus Hibs. Stephen, your thoughts?
Rubbish. Rubbish, that's about it. The first half, I genuinely didn't really feel that in danger, if you know what I mean. I think we looked very sloppy, but the goals we conceded were our own mistakes. The first goal, Miller coming across, and he's followed his man over, but he's ended up in left centre-back, left-back role. Ball just bounces off him. It's like it's in a game of FIFA, and Seaman's through, and he has a really good finish. Second goal, it's just a shot from 25 yards out. Again, good finish. I think we really need to work on, like, Montgomery has this style and plan set in stone, and he doesn't seem to want to change it. Even at Tynecastle, he didn't change it at all. He changed the players, but he didn't change the formation. I think we might struggle in games where you can't play Rangers and Celtic the same way you play Dundee or Livy or teams like that. You can't line up away at Ibrox how you'd line up at home to Dundee. It doesn't make any sense. And we didn't even beat Dundee in that game.
I was going to say, we've got someone there mentioned Dundee. Oh, sorry, that could be lost about Dens Park, actually.
Do you think he was maybe a bit naive to the fact what going to Ibrox means for a team like Hibs and like the system you need to play, and you can't just go there and play the same football.
I don't really know. I think he's just trying to get to the point where he plays that style and formation over and over and over again, and try and get the players like just in this repetitive process so they're so used to it. But when you're at Ibrox and you're using that, you need your wingers to be on top form, Boyle and Yuan, and they both weren't on top form at the weekend, and that really, really hurts you, especially when we push the fullbacks up so high at a place like Ibrox.
It's such a massive pitch at Ibrox.
Exactly.
You can't approach it the same as any other game because of the quality of the opposition, for one, the size of the pitch, and the environment's obviously going to be very hostile, especially since Rangers and Hibs is a rivalry. You can't discount the fact that because of the atmosphere, because of the environment, it's going to be an uphill task, and that's before you get to the fact that you need to be on top form to beat Rangers in any game, really.
I think the thing with the atmosphere, actually in the first 20-25 minutes, it didn't really seem that confident. They kind of seemed a little bit restless. Obviously, they got that goal, and that kind of helped them a wee bit. But even at 1-0, Hibs were very much in the game, and I don't think the crowd liked that. And then obviously, as soon as they get that second goal, you're 2-0 down at Ibrox. You don't really stand much of a chance, do you?
Rangers were far more defensive as well.
Exactly.
It seemed, and then they would hit Hibs on the break, and an Old Firm team doing that at home was.
It's what Hibs.
quite
It's what
bizarre.
Hibs should be doing. That should have been our game plan, to try and hit them on, just try and hold them and then hit them with players like Yuan and Boyle and Venti and Lafondra.
Yeah,
Whereas-
obviously Rangers have got the quality on the break to punish
pace as
Hibs.
well.
Yeah, to punish Hibs, and even that Cantwell pass for Desso's goal is brilliant. Yeah, Rangers thoroughly deserved the victory, I think, and it's a start that Clement would have wanted.
Couldn't have asked for a better start, to be
Yeah.
honest, because I would argue that we never really laid a glove on them chances wise. I think we went to Ibrox and not played as forward thinking and still had more chances than that.
Yeah, I think the real test will be on Thursday night for him. We'll see how that system kind of does in Europe, especially away from home as well. So, be interesting to see.
Seamer's had a very solid start to his loan spell at Ibrox, and there's been hints that he could maybe be lined up for a permanent deal. I reckon that'd be a pretty solid bit of business for Rangers. He's started well. He's on loan from Brighton, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he can push to make a breakthrough at Brighton, or do you think he's better off just coming up and staying here permanently than building his career from there?
I think if he finishes, if he continues his form for the rest of the season, Brighton will look at it as, right, he's done really well, his market value is quite high right now, so if Rangers want to buy him for that money, and if Rangers don't want to, they'll sell him to someone else. It's similar to, like, say, I know this is completely different, but if Will Fish had a really good season and he went back to Man United, they wouldn't go, right, Hibs, there you go, have him for a discounted price. They'd go, right, market value up, who wants him, take him.
Malik Tillman last year for Rangers.
Exactly.
But they
They had an agreed
a bit
fee though.
a bit of a disagreement there, but yeah, it's a tricky one with Seema. I don't know if he would break into the Brighton team and
No.
be a starter.
so.
I don't think so. But then you're seeing players go back to Brighton, hit the ground running, and then all of a sudden they're
Brighton also have a knack of just like spawning in these young talents from out of nowhere.
Yeah.
As soon as they sell one, they've just got some other like prodigy who'll be going for about £45 million in 6 to 12 months' time. I don't know how they do it. Their recruitment is off the scale good.
I think the fact he's been on loan like numerous times now maybe is telling that he's not like Undav,
How old
for
is he?
example. I don't know. I'm gonna assume he's early 20s.
21, 22 maybe.
But like Undav, for example,
What a player.
he was out on loan, done really well, came back, did nothing, back out again. See ya. What?
No disrespect for Undav, mate.
Why?
What a player.
Undav came back to Brighton and single-handedly gave Newcastle top 4 and chucked Liverpool out of it. Literally.
But you're not bitter about it at all.
No, totally not. He totally didn't like handball it and like miss a header or something like that. I can't mind.
Next up, it's a big game in the Cinch Championship, and Mr. Back has been loath to talk about it all week. It is, of course, the Fife Derby.
Yeah. it's a strange one. Obviously, we're not going into the game in good form at the moment. Saturday's result was not so much the result because it could have been much worse. The first half performance was unacceptable. The manager made 2 changes after half an hour, brought off Joe Chalmers and Chris Hamilton, and it wasn't they weren't even the worst players on the pitch. The manager said that as well. It was just the tactical changes that he wanted to make. Had to make another sub at half time due to the centre half being sick, Reece Breen. So made an attacking change with that as well. And we didn't have a game for 3 weeks before the game against United on Saturday. And did it maybe show in the first half? Possibly. Could have been 3 or 4 goals down at half time. Came back into the game in the second half. Jakubiak's got to score that chance. Unfortunately, he'll know that himself.
Sitter. I've watched it back 5-6 times. I don't know how he's not put that away.
Yeah, Edwards had a chance in the first few minutes as well. If he puts that away, kind of sets the tone for the match, gets us a goal ahead early on. But yeah, I think even if we got a point out of that game after the first half performance, it would have been excellent. Really, I would have taken it any day of the week. But Saturday's a different ball game. At Derby, kind of, as I say, form goes out the window. But Raith Rovers are really good at the moment.
Bet you loved saying that.
Yeah. Hopefully they won't be really good on Saturday. I know their manager and Ian Murray and John Potter were at the game at East End Park on Saturday, and I don't think they would have been scared by Dunfermline's performance, but they know what we're capable of. We've still got attacking threats on and off the bench. Still got players to come back as well. Benedictus back running, Matty Todd back running, and Kane Ritchie Hoss are back running. So they'll be back. I think they'll miss Saturday, but they'll be back in the next few weeks. So
Benedictus, of course, fresh off signing a contract extension.
Yeah, brilliant news. Same with Lewis McCann as well. Both signing, I believe it's 2-year extensions. So yeah, brilliant to have them signed up. Benedictus was our player of the year last year and crucial to the clean sheet record that we got last year. Hopefully get him back soon. He's eager to get back after speaking to him last week. And yeah, Saturday's game, you never want to go into a derby wanting a draw or something, but I think we need the 3 points at the moment, I think, but it will be a tough task. But yeah.
Do you think it is more the fact of how Raith are playing that you're going into
that
game rather than the way Pars are playing?
I've got faith in our play style and how we play and our players. I think there's still a good vibe around the club despite the last few games. And yeah, I can't deny that Raith Rovers are playing well at the moment. They've got a really good team. They spent quite a bit of money in the summer to get that team in place, and they've got really good foundations for going forward. But Dundee United, I can't see Dundee United dropping points anytime soon.
I mean, they
dropped points
demolished,
didn't they?
Yeah.
Dundee United, of course, demolished Partick Thistle 5-0 at Firhill. Former Jags man Kevin Hope bagging a hat-trick from defence, including a penalty. That was quite amusing, wasn't it?
Yes, it's just a strange one as well. I think you rarely see centre-halves getting hat-tricks. But yeah, Partick Thistle, it's a strange one because they put in a really good performance against Dunfermline 2 weeks prior, or a couple of weeks prior. And then Saturday's result was really poor, so Dundee United went ahead through Craig Sibbald, and then the 3 goals from Kevin Holt. Partick Thistle fans, I don't think they'll be happy. They did go down to 10 men, but I don't think they'll be happy with that result. But Dundee United fans will be delighted with the start they've made to the league campaign anyway, especially after the League Cup. The shaky start to the League Cup anyway.
Now on to the European games. First up, Celtic host Atletico Madrid. And in the lead up to this game, Atletico have announced they're going to wear a special one-off kit in the Parkhead clash, and it's going to be an all-red number in reference to the kit that they wore a number of years ago in a rather infamous game against Celtic. Is it in bad taste or not? Personally, I think it's perfectly fine. I'm gonna be controversial. They're just choosing to wear that kit because it was a significant game. The reasons for that game being significant are obviously well documented, but I think it's nice to see a club commemorate history by wearing an old style kit. We don't see enough retro style shirts in football these days, so just from that standpoint, it's not as if they're hardly. I don't think they're doing it to spite Celtic.
Really?
No,
I think they know what they're doing.
Do you think it's mind games?
It'll get them riled up a wee bit.
They totally know what they're doing. They wouldn't just randomly go, "Oh, we're playing Celtic, so let's chuck out a kit we used against them." They know what happened in that game before. They know how the Celtic fans feel about them after that, and they're already trying to get ahead of them mentally.
It'll certainly cause a bit of uproar, I think.
Exactly.
And
that's what they want.
Create an hostile atmosphere. But will that benefit Atletico, or will that benefit Celtic?
You never know, because a team as good as Atletico should be able to cope in atmospheres like that. So they'll maybe hope that if they can get the crowd already unsettled, and if they imagine they got an early goal, imagine how raging that Celtic crowd would be.
Well, they've certainly put in the performances in recent Champions League games. I think it's the matter of getting that result, as you said. I think every Celtic fan can see that the performance is there, but they're wanting that victory. Atletico Madrid, arguably the best team in that group, or probably the best team in that. They will probably top that group, but going to Celtic Park's not easy, as we know, and for any team in Europe and in Scotland as well. So
some big teams have come a cropper over the years. Obviously, the famous one against Barcelona. You had Lazio, they beat them home and away in the Europa League a couple of years ago. So you can't discount the Parkhead factor, because obviously Celtic should not be able to compete with these teams given the gap in resources. I know, ironic to talk about an old firm team and a gap in resources, but you can't discount the fact that Parkhead on European nights is a real asset to Celtic. It can really spur them on, and when all the chips are down, the atmosphere that the Celtic fans can produce when it's a European night under the floodlights, it is a force to be reckoned with, and it's something that they can use to their advantage if required. They'll need it. They will need all the support they can get against Atletico Madrid. Next up, Rangers playing Sparta Prague. Obviously, given that Rangers are bottom of the group, it is a must-win game for them.
Yeah, totally. They need to get a result in this. Obviously, because Sparta Prague are one of the teams they'll be fighting against to try and get out of the group. I think if they can get a result whilst on a sort of high right now with their new manager and beating Hibs at the weekend, then it'll stand them in good stead for the rest of the campaign.
I think all teams are on 3 points. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of still all to play for in that group. There's still 4 games left, so all to play for. But a win on Thursday night would be brilliant. Especially away from home. You obviously want to win all your home games in Europa League as well, but with the disappointment of the last away game, or the first away game in the group that they had, they need to rectify that, and they need to go and at least get a result of some kind to continue to compete in the group.
Personally, I can't see Rangers getting out of this group. I just don't think, for whatever, they had a good start obviously, but you've got Real Betis in that group. I reckon they'll top it, but I just can't see Rangers getting a result in Spain against Betis.
That's true.
But if you're Rangers, if you finish third, do you take a run in the Conference League?
Totally.
Oh,
totally.
I mean,
they won't. They might not admit it because they'll be too proud to maybe think they'll be going down to the Conference League. But 100% that they'd rather. I think they'd have a much better shot if they went down into that Conference League at actually giving it a good go.
I reckon Rangers could go on a similar. Obviously, they got to the Europa League final a couple of years ago. I reckon if Rangers were to end up in the Conference League, they could have a real good stab at it.
Would they beat the likes of Villa?
No,
exactly.
I don't think so.
Brighton. The issue, like you said, with Celtic, the
Europa
Ibrox. That's true. If they went down. But like you said with Celtic Park, the Ibrox atmosphere is massive. It literally almost pushed them to that final a few years ago, and if they can get the crowd behind them, like I'm sure they will be, then there's no reason why they can't go on a little run.
Logan, your thoughts on that as well? If you are a Rangers fan,
that's a horrible thought.
If you're at Rangers, you're thinking if you can maybe qualify for the Conference League, obviously a bit of a step down compared to the Europa League, but would you reckon their fans would be happy at a run in that competition, or would it just be snobbery?
Look at the West Ham fans last year.
Exactly.
They went on to win that competition, and they'll remember that for
Champions of Europe
40, 50 years to come. Rangers, hypothetically, Rangers get to that final, That's another fight. That's another European final that they've been in.
All
no
the
matter
money.
no matter what competition it is, it's a European final, and it's now a recognised competition in Europe where big teams have got to the final. Let's be honest, like Roma, obviously West Ham, Fiorentina. So yeah, I'm not saying they're going to get to the final if they do go in the Conference League, but it's certainly a chance, or a better chance, in my opinion.
Much better chance to compete. This Rangers squad is nowhere near that team. Obviously, they didn't win the league in the season they got to the Europa League final, but that was a squad who were very much higher in confidence, and they still had, obviously, as soon as John Lundstrom heard the Europa League song, he became like the best midfielder on the planet. But that squad was, I'd say, better than the one they've got now. Certainly a lot less disjointed. So it's not as if they're the same level of team as they were. So I reckon that our run in the Conference League would do them a world of good.
They're still totally in the group though, so there's no reason why they couldn't qualify from that Europa League group. But I mean, it might come to the end where you're kind of thinking, right, we may be out, but at least we're dropping down. The worst case scenario would be finishing bottom, below was it Limassol they got beat by? If they finish below them, then that would be outrage.
Finally, Aberdeen versus PAOK. Ugh, that name still sticks in my throat. Massive game for the Dons. Obviously, it's at home. I know we're going to make the same point again, but the red shed, the home factor, your home games in Europe, regardless of what standard your team is, your home games, you want to make your home ground a fortress, and that can be an opportunity for Aberdeen to get a win over a very, again it hurts to admit it, but a very, very solid PAOK team. If they want to progress out of the groups, they've got to have a right good go at winning this game.
Yeah, we said that about their last home game as well, and probably they needed to pick up 3 points in that one. This one will be more tougher. Obviously, we've seen what they could do against Hearts. And they, as you can see from it, or you can't see from here, and glare at me currently, but yeah, they've got a couple of recognised players as well in that squad, like the Tyson, who was at Shakhtar Donetsk a few years ago as well. So yeah, they'll be strong, and they'll go to Aberdeen. I'm glad they weren't in Aberdeen last weekend, but so yeah,
You're not joking there, by the way.
yeah.
I know we're not here to talk about the weather, but my God, it was bad.
Yeah, so I think, as you said, the last game result was not poor for Aberdeen. It was an okay result, but ideally they would have got the 3 points. But it'll be difficult on Thursday night.
Well, it's now time to round off this week's episode with the first ever Logan's quiz time.
Woo!
Steven, never do that again. Please. For the love of God, never do that. I'm going to mute your mic in a second. I never thought I'd have to mute Steven, but my God, that is horrendous.
Right, troops. 5 questions, and there's 6 points available. Both of them are writing down the answers on their notes. No cheating, may I add. No using Google. I know what you like, Stephen.
I don't get a signal on here anyway, so it's fine.
Right. Who is the current top goal scorers in the Scottish Championship?
Championship.
I got told we weren't going to get asked top goal scorer stuff like that.
There is 2 answers available.
Championship.
Scottish Championship. Just to clarify, this is as of Tuesday, 24th of October.
My ball knowledge is shocking these days.
don't have a clue.
I should know this.
Can I move on?
Yeah.
Question 2. Where do Stranraer play their football?
Where?
Where?
Like, what? Stadium? Or
What's their ground called?
I know this one.
I don't have a clue. I feel like I should know it, but I don't. You better not call me cheating if I get this right, because this is just a stab in the dark.
Right. Who is the manager of Hamilton Accies?
I literally saw him a couple of days ago, so if I get this wrong, it's a bit embarrassing.
I feel like I do know it deep down, but it's not coming to my brain right
you
now.
need to do your research on Scottish football, mate.
Well, sorry, these are all lower league stuff here.
Still Scottish
Who
football,
said
mate.
this
You
one?
regularly attend Dunfermline games. Be quiet.
Regular is a strong word.
Since the SPFL era started in 2013, who has the most goals in that period?
Team. I'm assuming.
Player.
What? I've got a good shout.
These questions get
I've
worse
got a
every
good
week.
shout.
So since that started in 2013, who's got the most goals as an
Yes.
SPFL player?
Yes.
Ugh, spare me.
You should not,
I think I know.
Why should I know it?
because he's...
Is it a Hearts player? You're just giving it away.
No.
That makes me think.
But he's a
makes me think I'm
he's a
wrong.
well-known name for his goals.
Okay, so that.
Hmm. Right, I see.
And now question 5, the last question. How many teams has Derek McInnes managed in Scotland?
In Scotland.
In Scotland. Stephen looking with...
I think I know. I'm just trying to count it out.
I'm gonna watch your fingers and see how many you put up.
I'm not gonna count with my fingers.
I'll
Then.
give you 10 to 15 seconds to just
I feel
clarify
like
your
you're
answers.
you're trying to
Do you
throw
want
us
to go over the
off.
questions again? Or
Just
are
give me a
these fine?
second. Give me a second.
Both of them thinking very hardly here. Quite enjoying this.
I can't wait to get none of these right. By the way,
Yeah, at least you got the Hamilton one. I don't know.
thing is, I'm now having second doubts
Right.
because I can't remember his first name.
The current top goal scorers in the Scottish Championship are Brian Graham
Didn't get it.
and Kevin Holt.
Also didn't get it.
Oh,
Who did you put?
no, I got.
Who did you
both
put?
wrong. Well, actually, in my prediction originally before we did our episode at the start of the season, I said Brian Graham would get top goal scorer. I didn't back him for this quiz. I said Louis Moult. I didn't know if he'd been playing or not. And McCann, because you were asking it, so I just assumed it might be McCann.
I said Louis Moult and Louis Vaughan.
So, 0 points out of 2 so far. Where does Stranraer play?
Stair Park.
Didn't get that.
Stair Park. Aaron goes 1-0.
Is it a place called Ockleview, or am I making
That's
that up?
Dennismuir.
All right, okay. So I know, but at least I knew it. I didn't know. I knew that name was sticking in my head. I didn't know
That's
why.
fantastic, but that's not Stranraer.
Oh, obviously, that's what. Obviously, that's why I got it wrong.
Right, Stephen. Who is the manager of Hamilton Accies?
I don't know.
Ex-Hibs.
Oh, I knew. Was that a former player?
Ian Rankin.
Is it? Because that's who I was going to put. John Rankin.
Ian
He's an offer.
Ian Rankin's the offer, mate.
Oh no, I meant John Rankin. God.
No, Ian, I'll take your first answer.
No,
mate.
No, you said Ian Rankin.
Right, no, he's wrote it.
Well, he could have just changed that.
He's wrote down John Rankin, but he said Ian Rankin.
I
knew
don't know
that
why I
as
said
well.
Ian Rankin. I
actually
meant to
knew
say
that,
John.
but for some reason, I thought he was at somebody else.
I didn't sleep a lot last
So
night. in case you
I've
couldn't tell.
lost.
I've clarified with Aaron's phone that he has put John Rankin.
Cheated.
Always cheated, never defeated a Stephen Kinnaman way.
Since the SPFL era started in 2013, which player has the most goals in that period?
Billy Mackay?
No.
Kenny Miller.
No.
Who?
Rory McAllister.
Really?
Oh, I forgot.
Goal
I
machine
forgot.
at
I forgot we're playing the low league quiz here, so we're not
You
getting
stop-
any.
stop with
any
snobbery,
top
Stephen.
division stuff.
Your snobbery is not appreciated here. Go back to Ireland on holiday again.
It remains 2-0. Sorry,
I've lost
2-0 to
this
Aaron.
week.
How many teams has Derek McInnes managed in Scotland?
3.
3.
St Johnstone, Aberdeen, Killie.
Both of you get a point, so it ends 3-1 to Aaron.
Come on.
Still about 45 weeks to play for, but
I'll get you.
each
No,
point...
no. Stop. We welcome the chase.
But will we vary this quiz from week to week, or is it always going to be like League 1 and 2 questions?
That was not all in League 1 and 2, mate. You had Derek McInnes.
That was the only one I got.
Scottish Championship.
And the rest.
Cry me
I
a river,
should
Stephen.
have got Rankin, to be fair, because I actually
Cry
knew that
me
one.
a river.
I knew that one.
You just need to get better at your lower league knowledge.
So I need to do homework for this quiz.
Correct.
Well, let's face it, you do no working class. You do no working class anyway.
Oh,
so
whoa. Who was the one that wrote our little script schedule for this podcast?
well done. You wrote about 5 or 6 bullet points. What I made
Well, what did you do? You were in uni for about 7 hours before
yeah,
this.
doing work.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wasn't. I was
Right, you
spell, let's
Let's
wrap
wrap this up.
Thank you very much for tuning in to another week of Across the Fourth. Make sure to follow our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. We're not calling it X. Elon can do one. So you keep up to date with all the latest goings on at your favourite football podcast. Logan, Steven, any final thoughts?
Both of you are useless at quizzes, clearly, so need to get better next week. But good to be on again. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers, thank you.
Until next time, we'll see you for more very soon. But until then, take care and bye for now. Cheers for listening, guys.